Coming up on Let's Get to the Points.
Tonight, we are focusing on a topic that is both rewarding and sometimes a little overwhelming, and that is traveling with infants.
What programs do you recommend families look at if they have an infant?
I think they are one of the most generous ones when it comes to the lap infant costs. They don't charge you the 10% taxes like most of the other ones do.
So I'm wondering, how has travel been different for you ever since you've had him?
I do exactly what people tell you not to do and hoard points, but they come in handy when you have to change plans and you have a bucket to pull from and not have to use cash. That's actually saved us quite a bit, even with traveling with my son. If we have to change last minute flights, we just pull from our points.
Can you talk about what it's like for Baby Bash to have an interview for his global entry? Does he say, hi, here's my fingerprints, I'm with mom and dad here?
What baby has global entry? So every time they come up to us and they say,
Baby Bash does.
Baby Bash has global entry.
And now, let's get to the points. She loves making family travel first class without the first class cost. It's serene. For him, no travel style is off limits and no destination is too far. It's Miguel. And he loves to use his credit card points and miles for unforgettable experiences in first class and beyond. It's Mitch Shannon.
Tonight, we are focusing on a topic that is both rewarding and sometimes a little overwhelming, and that is traveling with infants. Now, we have covered family travel before, but infants bring their own unique set of challenges and opportunities. From figuring out airline rules and booking strategies to making sure everyone gets some rest on the road, the details matter even more when your smallest traveler is coming along with you. We're going to walk you through how to plan smarter trips with infants, what benefits airlines and hotels actually offer you, and the tips that can help parents feel confident and very well prepared. Whether you are planning your baby's first trip or you want to be ready for when that day arrives, tonight we are going to make the journey very smoother for you. And we're joined by our extra special guest co-host tonight, Christy from the Instagram channel Two Traveling Engineers. And as always, we invite you to join in our conversation online by leaving a comment below. All right, Christy, you are in Austin. I guess we can talk about barbecue later, but right now, I think we need to talk about 16-month-old Baby Bash. This is new to you, right? This is your first one?
He's my first one. Might be my last one. It makes it so much easier just filling that one row of 3. Yeah, he's 16 months old. He's doing all the things. He's so much fun. He's definitely hitting that toddler stage, which everybody warns you about. And it is challenging, but they are so funny. They're tiny little drunk adults, basically. That's how I like to describe them. But he's so much fun.
So Christy, I know that you used to live in Poland with your husband and you used to travel quite a bit. And it seems like you still do with Baby Bash. So I'm wondering, how has travel been different for you ever since you've had him?
I was never really a slow travel person. I felt like we tried to pack in so much. Even before we moved to Poland, we were doing as much travel as possible. We took 3-4 trips abroad every year, and we tried to jam as much as we could. Before we moved to Poland, we had been to, I think almost 50 countries. So we had done our fair share, and it was always really fast. With a baby, with a child, I've had to slow it way down, and it's actually much more enjoyable that way, not doing as much for him, stressing him out. And it's also nice to be able to go back to a lot of the places we've been before and experience them differently. Even like flying through the same airports. One of my favorite airports is actually Amsterdam. I love flying through there. I love flying the Austin, Amsterdam KLM flight. That's my favorite flight, not just because they give you the little houses, but because it's just so convenient flying into Amsterdam, knowing exactly where to go, where to take the train, how to walk from there to the Kimpton Hotel, which is where we always stay. So I feel like we do a lot of comfort travel, which just means going back to some of the cities we've been before in some of the same countries, but then trying to explore other areas in there, just doing it a little bit slower.
Now I have to ask you.
I knew he was going to ask.
How many of those little houses does Baby Bash have now? We
have, I think, 10 or 11. I'll send you a picture because we keep them in our bar. They don't give the child one.
Wait.
I asked.
They don't?
Nope.
My kids got one.
Really?
Yeah. At the time they were...
Maybe it's by seat.
Yeah.
Does he have his own seat?
No, No, that's the whole point, is so he can share my seat before he's 2. Got to take advantage.
Share the seat and the booze.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, actually, I'm surprised they gave your kids one if it's got booze, but they made a joke with me on one of the KLM flights, or maybe it was Air France, and they asked what he wanted to eat. And I was like, oh, what are the options? And they laughed because they were joking. They weren't actually going to feed him. But they charged 10% of the price of business class. So even though I paid like 60,000 points for my flight, I think it was like $600 for him. So it was absurd. It was not cheap whatsoever. And so for $600, you think they would give him his own meal? Apparently not.
And a house.
And a house, yes.
Yeah, I think he definitely deserves a house for that.
I think so. Or at least like a sandwich.
Okay, well, when he turns 2 and he gets his own seat on KLM, I think you need to report back and let us know if he gets his own house.
I don't know what I'm going to do when he turns 2. I feel like we might have to take a pause from traveling overseas because I haven't flown economy overseas. And I know that sounds really snobby, but it's hard.
On this show, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
Because there are other snobs in this house.
It's okay.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Snobbing allowed.
I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if we'll start flying economy or what until he's a little older. I see other people travel with their 2-year-olds and they sit in their own seats. I don't see that for us. Maybe 3 or 4, we'll see. Trying to take advantage as much as I can before he turns 2.
I guess there's a few options. You either travel less, scale down, so not so many trips, or maybe the sweet spot could be premium economy. And that could be a good compromise depending on, the configuration of an aircraft.
That's true. I'm not a premium economy fan. I feel like it's so many more points for not a lot. Especially, it's not even the points, it's the taxes that a lot of them will charge you for, like, you can't even lay down. So I'll probably just slum it and fly economy.
Or my favorite option, just leave the kids at home. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm right there with you. One day I'm all talk about leaving him behind, and we haven't left him behind yet for any of our trips. Only like business travel, I'll go solo. Yeah, one day. That's the dream.
But based on the footage that you've shared with us, it seems like he's very easy to travel with.
We got really lucky. I was very scared. We actually have a NICU baby, so he spent some time in the NICU, and I was really nervous to fly with him early. So we didn't fly with him until he was 4 months old, and I wanted to do a test flight. So we flew from Austin to Dallas, which is a 45-minute flight. I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if his head was going to explode. So I was very nervous. After that, it went really smoothly. From there, it just got a little bit easier every time. I will say that if you're nursing, I find it so much easier to travel and really do anything with the baby because you are their food source. So you don't have to worry about, finding water, formula, anything like that. It's just you and your baby, especially if you nurse to sleep. I found it so much easier. Nurse everywhere, especially abroad. It's a little bit more accepted, not as weird as maybe it would be somewhere else. So it's honestly made it so much easier.
I've noticed they have these nursing pods at a lot of airports. So now that you have a baby, do you notice those type of amenities more than before?
Oh, totally. I never paid attention to them before because I didn't need them. But now I'm always looking out for them. I see the mama pods, something like that. There's actually an app that somebody told me about. So I downloaded the app to find out where they are in the airport. And it's been super helpful, especially if I'm doing business travel by myself and I need to pump. That's my place that I go. Even in some of the lounges, they'll have them. I think Capital One has a mother's room. I'm always on the lookout for those. The app is called Mamava, MAMAVA. And it lets you find any of the nursing pods in the airport. And actually, I think it's in other locations too.
Is it free to use these pods?
Yep, you walk right up. Some of them have codes or combinations, and it'll tell you in the app if it's just like you walk up and you open it or if you need a code. It's very helpful.
So I love how you mentioned taking the test flight just to see how it goes traveling with him at 4 months. I think that's a great idea. Did you actually have a reason to go to Dallas, or did you take this flight specifically as a test?
Well, both. So my family lives in Dallas and we wanted to go visit them. Normally we would just drive because it's a 3-hour drive versus waiting at the airport and everything. I think it probably still even took us longer to take the flight, but we just decided we would fly there and drive back. So it literally was a test flight. We had to rent a car to drive back. So it was quite unnecessary. It was great. It gave me, the confidence to be able to fly with him, know what to expect. That first flight, we were confused on gate checking the stroller. There was a long line, so I tried to board with it. I thought they would give me a tag right at as you try and board, they do not. They send you back. So my husband had to board by himself with the baby and all the things while I waited in line for them to give me that little tag so that I could gate check it. So it was very stressful. So we learned never do that again. We always get it ahead of time. And that way we can get on and get settled. I think there's a couple different strategies. Some people wait until the last minute so that they can spend as little time as possible on the plane and they board last. I like to board early. I like to take advantage of the family boarding. Southwest offers the best one, of course, but they let you board early, put all your things, just get settled. I just find it so much easier.
I think that's a really good tip, Christy, that you bring up. It's called claim at gate. So you go up to the agent at the counter, and if you're going to tag a stroller or a big car seat, you want to do that at the gate, and you want to make sure that it arrives in the jetway and that they don't check it to baggage claim. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's really important. I don't think a lot of people know that when it comes to kids that you can do. It's called a claim at gate, where you walk up to the agent and they will check those items for you for free, but they come out to the side of the plane, not down where the luggage is downstairs.
Yes. And we actually had them do that. I think our flight from Paris to JFK, Air France, they gate checked the bag. It was the car stroller. And we had the Doona, the 2-in-1, where it's a car seat stroller set up. And they ended up checking it. And because we were sitting in business class, they were super nice. We told them we wanted to make sure that we were getting it because we were going to wait for our global entry interview for our son, since it was his first international trip. So we absolutely needed this car seat stroller so that he could rest and everything. And they ended up actually getting it for us. So we didn't have to wait. We waited, while people got off the plane, but we didn't have to wait, at baggage claim. So even if they accidentally check it, it never hurts to ask. And I think sometimes they're a little bit nicer when you're sitting up front. So that's another perk of just splurging for the business class.
That leads me to my next question. Can you talk about what it's like for Baby Bash to have an interview for his global entry? Does he say, hi, here's my fingerprints, I'm with mom and dad here? How does that go? How does that work?
It's honestly just a formality, of course. They just look at him. His passport looks nothing like him. So I honestly don't know what they do. I think we got his passport when he was 3 weeks old. And then we took the flight with him when he was 7 months old, that international one. So they look very different between 3 weeks and 7 months.
Very different.
We're like, is this your son? Yep. They don't fingerprint him. It's literally just to pick him up, stamp it, and then I guess we'll have to do it again in 5 years with him again.
So does his face work for the machine when you guys come through? Like you hold him up into the machine? And I'm curious how that works now because you really don't need anything except for your face when you walk through.
Right. They make us just go straight to the agent. So we don't stand there. They question us every single time. Because they assume that a baby doesn't have global entry because, what baby has global entry? So every time they come up to us and they say,
Baby Bash does.
Baby Bash has global entry. So they always come up to us and they say, does he have global entry? Like, yes, he does. And they're like, okay, go up to the agent. So we just bring him up.
What about his passport photo? How'd you take that? Did you do that at home or did you take him to a store somewhere?
We did it at home. We were trying to get him his passport. They were very limited on appointments. It's hit or miss. I feel like when we did it, there were only a few options. And so we waited until the last minute, trying to find a wake window, put a white sheet down, put him down and took his picture. And then there was a website that I went on to try and crop the photo. The photo honestly didn't look the best. Thought they were going to turn us away and have us take the photo at the passport agency, but they didn't care. They said it was fine. Everything went through. He got his passport. And, like I said, he was only like 3 or 4 weeks old. He was very little. So at that point, they don't really look like anything.
So after your first test trip to Dallas, what was your trip after that like? Was it the Seattle one?
Yes. I think our next trip was to Seattle to visit my sister. She just had her baby. But really what I wanted to get to was getting overseas. We do a Christmas market trip, or at least we try to every year. We did one while we were pregnant. And I think we've done a Christmas market trip since 2021. So the last 4 years. And so that was our goal, just to get as much experience, feel comfortable going overseas and taking the plunge to go to Spain, go to France, have him, with us that time and be able to experience the Christmas markets again, just with our baby. We went to San Sebastian, Spain, and we went to Biarritz, France, and Paris. But I think we got to go to 3 or 4 Christmas markets.
Was the Christmas market trip his first international trip?
It was.
And was that KLM Air France?
Exactly. It was KLM on the way there from Austin to Amsterdam. And that's my favorite route to take because we live in Austin. So it's super convenient. It's an evening flight. I think it's around 6 p.m. and then it lands in Amsterdam at like 10 a.m., something like that. So it's really nice. You don't have to connect. Super convenient. So we took that flight and took him there. What we should have done, though, is paid for an early check-in. Unfortunately, I had emailed the hotel ahead of time. I asked if there was any way we could check in early. They said, we'll see. Hopefully you can check in. And they made us wait until 3 p.m. after a long haul with almost 7-month-old at the time. And that was rough, basically just, sitting in the lobby. The other thing that we did, which was a little silly on our part, but I'm all about trying to save when we travel and take advantage of the different currencies and different taxes. So we decided that we were going to buy our travel stroller there. So we actually went with no stroller. So, which, again, was a little crazy. We bought a Bugaboo travel stroller. It's probably the next new one before everyone had the yo-yo. The Bugaboo is a little bit better. It's bigger. It makes it so that they can lie down more comfortably. And it's from the Netherlands. So it was the cheapest place to buy it. And we bought it there. So we're carrying him around, going to the store to buy the stroller so that we had a place for him to lay down and sleep while we waited 6 hours to be able to check in. So next time, I would just make sure that I would pay to be able to check in early.
What hotel did you stay at?
At the Kimpton. We usually stay at the Kimpton in Amsterdam. I find it really convenient from the central train station. You can walk. It's a little bit of a crazy area to stay with the baby because that's their downtown area. It's where there's a lot of coffee shops, if you know what I mean, cafes, whatever they call them. So it's a little bit of a happening place and probably not the best place to stay with the baby, but it's where we always stay. One, because we can use points. We've used IHG points and we've also just booked through Capital One through the portal. They're really good about recognizing IHG status, even while booking third party with Capital One. So I think we've stayed there 3 or 4 times. And again, it's just super convenient.
So what IHG status do you have?
I have the basic IHG. I think it's a business card. I want to say it's $99 a year and it comes with platinum status. And before that, my husband had maybe even diamond status. He had it just through a ton of work travel, but platinum has been completely fine for us.
And what kind of benefits do you like when you use your IHG platinum status?
You don't get a whole lot. It's kind of hit or miss. Internationally, you might get breakfast. Otherwise, you get a benefit. But really, the convenience for me is hopefully getting an upgraded room. IHG, I don't think is as good as Hyatt or Marriott when it comes to giving perks. But we have had luck having, free breakfast. And really what we're after is the upgraded room for the hope of having our son sleep in a different room than us. And that way he can sleep more comfortably with not having to worry about hearing us or having any light, anything like that.
And were you able to get upgraded at this Kimpton?
Yes, I think we were on the 6th floor and we had a nice big room. I think they might have called it a suite, but I wouldn't call it a suite because, there was no separate door. It was just another little living room, but it was all open. So that made it nice that we had the extra space, especially because we had so much stuff. So that's the other perk of getting the upgraded room while traveling with a baby. It's just because European hotel rooms are so small, the basic ones, and we are traveling with a lot of things. We needed all of the things just in case.
You're also Marriott fans, right?
We have historically been Marriott. My husband has platinum for life. I think after 10 years, you get platinum. So he was able to qualify for that, I think 2 years ago from all of his travel. That's always our backup. Before that, we had status. Now he doesn't travel very much. So we only have platinum.
Christy, I too have stayed at that Kimpton in Amsterdam, and I think it's a fabulous property, just like you said. However, did you know, I'm sure you've eaten there before, across the street, there's an incredible ramen restaurant. Oh. And I only bring that up because Miguel, that's one of his favorite dishes.
Oh, really?
So I don't think we've gotten to the food part of the show yet, but just a little note for later for you, Miguel. Kimpton, Amsterdam, excellent ramen house across the street.
Well, speaking of food in Amsterdam, I too have a recommendation. This place that I'm going to recommend is called the Chicken Bar. I don't know if you guys went there or not. I
think you told me to go there, Miguel.
Did you go there?
I must have gone there.
But it wasn't memorable, obviously.
No, this place is good.
Wasn't that good, Miguel?
I'm still regaining my brain cells from pregnancy. So I feel like I did go there, though. Miguel had sent me some recommendations. I definitely went to one of the places, Miguel.
Yeah, if you go to Amsterdam, go to the Chicken Bar. Just trust me on that one.
We did, Miguel. We took your recommendation, loved it. We went back a second time, and then we went to the Thai restaurant right next door the second night after. It's a great restaurant. Yeah. good recommendation.
So knowing what you know now, staying with baby Bash at the Kimpton, would you stay there again next time with him?
I probably would, because we typically only stay there one night just to let him sleep, get a little bit used to the jet lag, and then we move. So we really haven't explored Amsterdam in a couple years. We haven't done it with him. I've heard amazing things. I have an expat friend from when I was in Poland that lives there with her family. I'll probably take him back when he's older, and then we'll stay somewhere else. I think if we're just doing a one-night stopover like we usually do, we'll probably just stay there.
And tell us about the hotel that you stayed at in Spain. That looks wonderful.
We stayed at Nobu for one night. And the reason we stayed at Nobu is because we had Amex credits to use. And that was one of the hotels that was available. That hotel was not kid-friendly at all. Luckily, we only stayed there for one night. And then we moved for our next 3 nights to the Hotel Santa Cristina, I want to say is the name of it. It's a luxury collection property by Marriott. It's fabulous. With our Marriott Platinum status, they upgraded us to a massive room suite with a door that closes so that you have the divider between the living room and the bedroom. So that was amazing. That was the place that we stayed the longest so that we could have the space with our son. He could crawl, do all the things in the room. It was amazing. And they were super sweet to him. In Spain in general, they were super amazing with babies, but they even gave him a little bunny with his initials on the little foot. It was awesome.
That is so great. So I'm curious, when you're in these European cities, how do you get around the city? Are you walking more? Are you taking the taxi at all? Or are you taking the metro?
All of the above. We have one of those dual Doonas, which is a car seat stroller, or at least we had when my son was smaller. And that made it super convenient to just be able to push him in the stroller, but also get an Uber and buckle the car seat at any point. So that's been great. I know that Doona, a lot of people don't like it because it's shorter, but we're not giants, so it's been fine. It is the most convenient thing. It's heavy, but that's the workout, right? So it's been awesome because that way we can take that from the metro, hop in a taxi. I think it's the best thing to have when you're traveling with an infant, especially in that first year, because they still fit in it. After that, they start to outgrow it. Our son is on the smaller side, so he's been able to stretch it. The next trip that we take will probably be the first one without the Doona. We're going to have to bring a separate car seat and have to lug that around. So that means we'll probably end up renting cars because those other car seats take a while to install. So it's not really feasible to do it in a taxi.
Does the Doona only work up to a certain age?
I think it technically goes up until they're 30 pounds, but most kids just outgrow it like lengthwise, even before they hit that weight limit. And it just becomes really heavy. They just start to be uncomfortable. I think once their feet pass the end of it, that's when they're supposed to come out of it. So it's either when they're long or when they hit the 30-pound mark. I think a lot of kids only make it through the first year in it. My son has made it. I think our last trip was at 14 months and he still kind of fits in it. It just, as they get bigger, it's not as comfortable for them.
Okay, I also wanted to talk about status because we know that you have Marriott Platinum status, you have IHG Platinum. Are you a Hyatt Globalist too?
Not anymore. That is the saddest news for me. I used to be, and then we just didn't travel enough to keep it. I qualified originally through the corporate challenge, which was, I believe you only had to stay 20 nights. I want to say they offer that challenge frequently. I don't know if there's some sort of cutoff if you've done it, but our plan is to do it again and have my husband do it this time at least. So that way we can get it again. It expired in February of this year. So before that, we were using it. And even after that, so we were still able to use our guest of honor for quite some time afterwards.
I believe for the corporate status challenge, you could do it once every 3 years. So at least you guys can try to rotate. It's every you do it, then he does it, then you're going to have to skip a year. And before, you could get some friends that are globalists and use that guest of honor, but now they're limited, right? So you have to earn the guest of honor depending on how many elite nights you stay. So I think globalists are more reserved now as far as giving them away because, they'll save them for themselves or their, closer friends and family.
And now that you don't have it, you do actually miss it?
I do when we're trying to stay at Hyatt. It's really hard going from this person chronically chasing status and having all of the highest status for all of the hotels and then having to pay for your own upgrade. You know what I mean? As silly as that sounds. And we typically don't, but it was so nice to not have to worry about it. Know that we'll get at least upgraded to the next level. We'll have food paid for. When it's not paid for, you're really not going to eat at the hotel. You really just do it for convenience. So that's the nice part, is at least it forces you to get out more. That's one of the things that we used to do quite a bit, at least get the breakfast paid for. It makes it a little bit cheaper. That way, one less meal to have to buy.
Yeah, we talk often on this show about how we have this issue as globalists, or with status at any hotel that gives free breakfast. We often, eat too much breakfast and don't have enough room in our bellies for the food out in town. So maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Depending on your travel lifestyle.
Christy, do you exclusively travel on points, or about what is the mix of travel when you're paying with points versus cash?
We mix it up. It's probably 70-30, 70% we do on points, 30% we do on dollars. We don't travel as much anymore now with our child. We still do quite a bit. I think he's been on over 20 flights so far. So we do take him quite a bit. Even if I have the points, I find it hard to justify spending them if, the flight is not that expensive. I recently signed up for a Delta card, the Delta Amex Gold, to go to Seattle, and it came with a $500 credit. And I have all these Delta miles that I'm not going to use because it's cheaper to pay with cash versus trying to use the points, right? From a cents per points, it's just hard for me to justify the math. So I do exactly what people tell you not to do and hoard points, but they come in handy when you have to change plans and you have a bucket to pull from and not have to use cash. That's actually saved us quite a bit. Even with traveling with my son, if we have to change last minute flights, we just pull from our points. And then, we figure out how to use them later if we leave them abandoned in another airline.
I bring that up because if you're using cash sometimes, you could consider some of the Hyatt properties are under the Hyatt Privé program. And if you book cash rates under that program, which are very similar to a standard rate, you get those pretty much globalist benefits, upgrade if available, the free breakfast for two, you even get a property credit. So it doesn't always make sense, but if the rate is low enough, you could just pay cash and book under a Privé program and you'll get those pretty much the same benefits as the globalist.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That's a really good idea. I need to look into that more so that way I can get the benefits. I've done that with the Chase. They've got some fancy hotel program when you book through their portal. And then, obviously Amex does with theirs, but I forget about the other ones.
Okay, so I know that Baby Bash has also been to London. Can you talk about that trip, how you booked the flights and the hotels?
On that trip, we went to Italy first. That was our goal, to get him to Forte dei Marmi, because I had looked up where are family-friendly sand beaches in Italy. And there's a few different options. A lot of the Italian beaches that I've been to, though, are very rocky. So I knew I didn't want to take my infant there. That's not fun for him to walk around or crawl on that. So I found Forte dei Marmi, which is just south of Cinque Terre. It's very easy to get there. I think you just take a train to combine the two into one trip. In Forte dei Marmi, we stayed at an Airbnb. We are new to booking Airbnbs. We were not Airbnb people before, but with a baby, it's fun to mix it up and be able to have a kitchen to make him food and all of that. So that is new for us, the Airbnb life.
Do you see more Airbnbs in your future?
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Because who wants to do their own dishes, right?
I know.
Or take out the garbage.
I try not to do it, but sometimes it just makes sense depending on where you're going, especially if you're traveling with a family. Sometimes it just makes more sense to have all that space.
Oh, the washer and dryer too, right?
With a baby, a washer and dryer is fantastic. The only hotel that I've had a washer and dryer is actually at the Waldorf Astoria in Cabo. We got upgraded to one of their casitas, and that comes with the washer and dryer.
Okay, so we're going to come back to the Waldorf later. For now, let's stick to Europe and we'll continue to London.
So Florence to London, our son got sick. He developed croup, which is that barky cough that they get. Their throat started swelling up quite a bit, and we didn't know what to do. He was super ill. We took him to a children's hospital in London and had to navigate that. We have regular health insurance, and with that comes emergency. It's very hit or miss, really, with what insurance covers. It's really tough to understand that. I've never gotten travel insurance before, and I debated it with him. I never pulled the plunge to actually do it. That was one of the biggest regrets, is not having travel insurance with a baby, because you never know what's going to happen. Fortunately, their healthcare is free and it includes travelers. So we were able to not worry about it and they said we might get a bill, but most likely not. So that was in July. Haven't gotten anything. And even then, I was told it would be fairly low.
This is in London?
In London, yes.
Wow.
There was a beautiful view of Big Ben coming out of the hospital. So it was really nice, but also just, really terrifying as first-time parents. Mm-hmm. He was starting to get sick when we were in Italy, and, we didn't know what to do, if we should wait to fly with him, but we wanted to get to London, be able to have English so that we could easily communicate with the doctors. And since we used to live in Poland, we know firsthand how challenging it can be to go to a hospital or go to a doctor when there is a language barrier. So we pushed it. We flew him to London. It's only a 2-hour flight, something like that. And we were able to take him to the ER there.
Christy, can you say that again? Was that free health care for you, for the kid, for everyone? If I show up at their door, they're going to give me some free health care?
Yeah, they will not turn you away. It's free health care. Obviously, other countries have that. But the downside of that is that there's really long lines. They prioritize children and babies specifically. As soon as they saw us coming in, they picked us right up, brought us to the front of the line, put us in a room. So we didn't have to wait at all, which was fantastic. But there were a lot of adults waiting. So that's the downside, is just not being able to process as many people through, I guess, is what I was told. But for us, it was great, and it was free.
So explain that a little more. So because you are a U.S. citizen, it doesn't matter. You get free healthcare when you are in London.
It doesn't matter who you are. If you're in London, they will not turn you away. It's free for anybody. An ER visit. They don't call it ER. They call it, I think it's accidental dismemberment, something, which is another thing to note when you're looking to try and figure out where to take your child to what the equivalent of an ER is. Luckily, I had a friend that lived in London who talked me through, okay, this is what you want to look for. Don't go to this hospital. So I was able to get some tips, and knowing firsthand, having a NICU baby, I know that if my child is sick, I don't want to go to a hospital. I want to go to a children's hospital, because they are not the same. Finding a children's hospital in London, we had to rent a car. It's actually kind of a crazy story. We had to change our flight, fly into the airport. What is it? Stansted, which is like an hour and a half away, as opposed to, I think we were originally flying into London City, which was right there, because my son was sick and we weren't able to fly with him until later. And so since we were all the way there, we had to rent a car so that we could get from the airport and go straight to the hospital. So we made it work, and they took really good care of him. And I think we just got really lucky that it was free, but it could have been a different country that would have charged a lot. So I will not make that mistake again.
I don't think you're going to get a country that's going to charge a lot more than the U.S. I think we're the worst offender in healthcare costs. I like how you said that they said you might get a bill, you might not, probably not, because here in the U.S., you'll get a bill even if they don't see you sometimes. They'll charge you for stuff that they didn't even do. They'll do all these tests that you probably don't need, and it gets pretty ridiculous. I too had to go to the hospital once for one of my kids who fell and got a cut in her chin, and we were in Prague and we had to figure it out. When you have kids, you just figure things out one way or another. The language barrier is a real thing, and we didn't know what was happening. We thought it was going to be super expensive because it's the emergency room. After I converted the Czech crowns to dollars, that ER visit was $50 total, and that's without showing insurance or anything. So yeah, I don't know, Mitch. You're talking about free healthcare over there. It might be cheaper to use your points to get to London or one of these other countries to go get treated for something than to just take an ambulance here and go into the waiting area of the hospital here.
Yeah, I agree. Especially you're like, well, they said there might be a wait. There's a wait here anyway. So I mean, what's the difference? I mean, I'm going to wait and pay a copay here. I might as well wait, use my points, get there and get a free visit,
Yeah, no, totally. And medical tourism is such a big thing right now, going to other countries. A lot of people go to Turkey for hair transplants. My husband's been really considering taking the plunge and doing that. So I may be booking that for him early next year as a Christmas present for him. So
And you're going to tag along too, you and Baby Bash.
We'll probably stay because it freaks me out to see what they do. He can do that. I'll take another trip later by myself.
Yeah, have you seen those memes of the planes, what it looks like when you're sitting in the plane, when you're leaving Turkey? Like all the men have all these bandages wrapped around their head.
But you know what? A year later, they look amazing. So well worth it.
So Christy, have you since purchased travel insurance for your family?
For our next trip, we will. I actually haven't decided which plan to take. I'm not a big insurance fan just because of all the issues that we've had just in the US dealing with certain claims. But I'm definitely interested in recommendations for our next trip. I do everything really last minute, just like
Miguel.
Yes, just like Miguel. I do everything last minute. So our next trip is either going to be at the end of November or in January. I'm not sure. We're trying to figure it out. We go with when we can find the points and the locations that we want. We are a little picky. I know some people just go based on the deal. We try to do a mix of both. And so because of that, we end up doing a lot of last minute bookings, and we know generally when we're going to go. We just don't always know exactly the date until the availability pops up.
Well, we've had a number of guests on the show who have talked about the Allianz annual travel plan. And I have that plan myself and I really like it. So I think that's a good place to start.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
So you mentioned earlier in the hospital how they give priority to babies. And I think in a lot of settings, having a baby in tow does give you priority to a lot of things.
Having a baby in other countries, you have just priority written on your forehead, whether that's at the airport. We have been pulled to the front many times at the airport in other countries. Even if there's not a separate family line, they don't want you to wait with the child. It's fantastic. My best experience is at the Borough Market in London. I really wanted to try the viral Dubai strawberries. I'd been dreaming about these, and the line was super long. So we got in line with our stroller. They yelled at us and told us that we needed to go to the front of the line. The strollers had a different line. I had no idea, but that was great. We didn't have to wait in that long line to get our strawberries.
And how were those Dubai strawberries?
They were so worth it. I don't remember how much they are. 8, 9 pounds. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. They're so worth it. I'll pay whatever for those Dubai strawberries.
Once you got to the front of the line, did they verify whether there was a baby in the stroller?
They did not.
You read my mind.
I'm thinking I'm going to rent a stroller and then just get to the front of the line everywhere.
They did not. Yeah. And you couldn't see him. I think he was asleep. So you could totally do that.
So otherwise, how long would that line have been?
Oh man, I don't know. We were in and out. I didn't even wait to see how it was moving, but the line was very long. So it was very chaotic. One day they're closed. I don't know what day, Monday, Tuesday, something like that. I had seen somebody else travel and it was closed. So I made sure we were not going to be there on that day. And whatever day we were there, it was insanely busy. They're so worth it. I hope you get to try them.
Oh my gosh. I want to go to London.
I know this is not a food episode, but what else? What other food did you try at Borough Market?
We had fish and chips, empanadas. All I remember is the Dubai chocolate. There's so much food. It is a very overstimulating place. And especially with a baby, he was tucked away in the stroller, so it was fine. There's just so much food there. I don't know. I would love to go back there.
I want to go to London now just to have those Dubai strawberries.
Just go to Dubai.
Why do they call it Dubai strawberries? There's no pistachio in it, right?
It's Dubai chocolate. I think there is pistachio in the Dubai chocolate.
Because it didn't look like there was any tint of green or anything.
So on our last trip where we were flying to Florence, we booked through KLM, and we booked our booking on points just through Flying Blue. And then we called probably a week or two after we had booked. The reason I called so much later is because the last time I did that, I called right away and they were able to do non-refundable fare that was cheaper, but it was still quite a bit. I knew I didn't want to do non-refundable. There was a lot going on. I might have to change it. So I waited to book it. They processed it, really high fee. We were charged. We had a receipt for it. We showed up to the airport. Luckily, early, they didn't have his ticket. I learned is, I don't know if it's KLM or Air France or which airlines, but the ticketing agents, when you're checking in, they are not able to do anything. They can't just charge you again and give you a refund. I wanted them to just charge me again and I would call and figure it out later just so that we could go. They couldn't do that. They actually had to call and wait on hold just like we would. There was no priority that they had, anything like that. Over an hour of sitting there waiting to be ticketed. We weren't charged again. They figured it out, but he was never ticketed. I wouldn't have known because we got a receipt. So next time we're going to check to make sure we actually have a ticket number. That's what we didn't have. And they'll probably call and just verify that he's actually ticketed. We had something similar with Air Canada on the way back. We flew United, but we booked through Air Canada. The good thing is that they tell you, hey, it didn't go through. You have to call us and you have to call and do it. But Air France didn't tell us. They just charged us and didn't actually do anything.
This is a great reminder to all always go to the airport early, just in case, especially when you have a baby with you.
I've actually seen that happen to a couple of people where they have issues with infant ticketing, especially with business class. So even if it's your airport that you've been to a bunch and you don't usually get there early, I would get there early with an infant.
Does Baby Bash fly in your lap, or do they have those bassinets? Because I see some of these aircraft have a place where the bassinets go. When I check out seat maps, it'll have a little logo of where bassinets could go. How does that work? Do you have to request those?
You do. You have to request that front row in order to get the bassinet. We've actually never been able to get it. He got too big to even fit in it for our last flight. So he just sleeps with me. I lay down the seat, or rather he sleeps and I crunch and sit. It's actually not comfortable at all. And as he gets bigger, it's harder. But the bassinet never worked for us. My son moves around a lot anyway. Those bassinets are really tiny. I know some people love them, but I'm not sure they would have worked for us. He loves the seat. He sprawls out. He's out cold. It's great. I was super nervous about the first time if he was going to scream the whole time or what, but he knocked out and slept the entire time. They can just fit in your seat. They can sleep. And as long as they sleep, things are good, even if you don't get to. So in London, we stayed at Hotel Indigo. I believe it was the Kensington property. And because my son got sick, we needed to extend our stay. I want to say we extended it twice. I had just applied for that IHG card so that I could get platinum status. I actually got it because my goal was to go to Six Senses in Granada, and they have a ridiculous nightly fee. So that's the whole reason I got that card. But I ended up using those points to extend our stay 2 times. Super helpful. They let us stay in the upgraded room that we had. It wasn't a suite, but it was a lot larger with the separate living area. So it was really nice for us. I usually bring a little travel high chair for him. It's one of those little beach chairs. And I find it just so much easier to have a little place for him to eat and have that little sense of normal for him. You know, that and his little blow up bathtub. So makes the whole jet lag a lot easier so he can have his same routine. And we had booked London to JFK to fly home through Virgin. We had booked because their program is so much easier. They don't charge the high taxes that other programs charge. They charge the flat fee. It's more convenient. Because we had to extend our stay, we couldn't find point redemptions with Virgin. We had gotten an awesome deal very, very early. So we ended up pulling points to be able to book through Air Canada because again, we were trying to avoid those high taxes. We had already paid them on the way there. Really didn't want to pay them again. So we booked through Air Canada, which was nice. It's another good program. I think they only charge around 2,500 points. We ended up flying from London to Chicago, which was actually better. It's a lot closer to Austin. So then we just had a short flight back from Chicago to Austin. With Air Canada, that was actually ticketed through United, which we could transfer from any of our credit cards that we had, which is great. And that applied to United. Had I booked through United, I would have had to pay 10% of the business class ticket. And unfortunately, when you're booking one way, it's even more expensive.
So Christy, you've had a lot of experience booking award travel for your family and paying the supplemental taxes or points that's needed for a lap infant. What programs do you recommend families look at if they have an infant?
I recommend Air Canada. I think they are one of the most generous ones when it comes to the lap infant costs. They don't charge you the 10% taxes like most of the other ones do. I think it gives you the most flexibility. Virgin is also a good one. The downside with flying Virgin, and this is probably just me, I'm very picky on the Virgin aircrafts. I don't want to be stuck in the wrong one, if you know what I mean, and end up in one of those coffin seats. That doesn't seem like a fun time with a baby because then you don't have the flexibility to actually move your seat around. So I would say Air Canada is the way to go.
Flying with an infant who's under 24 months old is free when you're flying on domestic itineraries within the United States. But when it comes to international travel, the fees are going to vary depending on the program that you book. So let's go over some of those rates. Most airlines charge 10% of the adult revenue fare for international flights. Some of them will charge 10% of the points redemption. The fee depends on the airline that issues your ticket, not the one that you're flying. For example, if you book a British Airways flight using American Airline miles, you'll pay 10% of the revenue fare, not 10% of the miles, which can make a big difference. For example, a business class ticket that costs $2,300 could cost you $230 to add your lap infant if you're booking it through AA. But if you book that same flight using British Airways Avios, it would only cost you 8,000 Avios and about $30 in taxes. These are some of the best programs that you want to look at if you want to book lap infants. Like Christy mentioned, the best one is going to be Air Canada. They charge a flat 2,500 points or 25 Canadian dollars per one-way ticket. It's the same fee whether you're flying on Air Canada or one of their partner airlines. ANA's Mileage Club will charge you 10% of the miles that you use for the adult ticket. So if you made a redemption of 70,000 miles, you would pay 7,000 miles to add a lap infant. But you'll need to add the infant over the phone. With British Airways, they charge 10% of the Avios used for the adult ticket, and there are no high surcharges for the infant. If you want to book with Turkish Miles and Smiles, they will also charge you 10% of the miles required for the adult ticket. This can be booked online, but as we know, customer service with Turkish Airlines could be tricky. And lastly, Virgin Atlantic, they will charge you a flat fee on points depending on which cabin you're flying. If you're flying in economy, it's a flat 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles for premium economy, 5,000 miles for business class, and 7,000 miles for first class. But some of Virgin Atlantic's partners don't allow in-lap infants, so you have to check which airline is operating your flight to make sure that they allow that.
Okay, I promised we would come back to the Waldorf, and we are at that place now. I'm interested in hearing about this, Christy, from your perspective with a baby in tow, because we had a show about Cabo and we heard all about the Waldorf, but I want to hear how it was with a baby.
I loved it. We actually went for our baby moon to Cabo and we stayed at the Cape for a couple days, which is the Hyatt property, and we stayed at the Waldorf Astoria. We fell in love. We knew we wanted to come back. It's very family friendly. We knew we had to bring our baby back. So it was really exciting to be able to bring him back and do all of the same things. The nice thing though was we got upgraded to a casita, which we didn't even appreciate at the time. We thought, oh no, we're not going to have our plunge pool that we had before that's elevated and you can look out. We're going to have an in-ground pool. That's not as fancy, but we were wrong. It was actually so much better and a lot more baby friendly to have the grass and have it all there for him to crawl around, play in the pool. And I think it's one of the best properties for parents because you can have your child sleeping inside, bring the baby monitor outside, swim, eat, drink, and you're still right there, right? You're not really leaving the room. It's all still in your room. Unfortunately, their point redemptions have gone up so much. So I'm actually trying to figure out how we're going to make it work to go back in January. It's our goal to go every year, but
oh my gosh, you like it that much?
Yeah, we love it. It's so family friendly. So if you find out any tricks to book, please let me know because I think it's 250K points now, which is it's just nuts.
So I know that the Waldorf there has some pretty nice welcome gifts that they bring you tequila, they bring you little coronas and guac and chips. Did they bring any gifts for your baby?
They did. They left us a crib. They left him slippers, little bunny slippers. They had a robe for him. They had the diaper pail, which was nice. They had a little amenity kit for him, all the baby soaps, all the things. So they were really, really sweet.
That's awesome. It would have been cool if they gave you like a little stuffed Corona bottle.
Oh, yeah.
Do they make such things?
Or a little stuffed toy of avocado or something.
My dog actually has a little Corona toy, so they must make it for babies. They make it for dogs.
I also want to hear your take on the Cape versus the Waldorf. Now, I think most people probably agree that the Waldorf is better, but what is your take on comparing those two properties?
So when we went to the Cape, I had globalist status and I didn't have the best experience there with an upgrade. I had seen somebody else go and get upgraded to a nice room. Maybe it was because we went on a weekend when they had a wedding there, but I always check to see if there's rooms available for purchase, and there were. So I was kind of disappointed that we didn't get a better upgrade. That was the downside. I thought the food at the Cape was great. They don't charge you an upgrade for breakfast like they do at the Waldorf. So I really enjoyed their food. I'll say the Cape is not as family friendly. I'm not sure I saw any kids while I was there. It's definitely more of an adult vibe there, more of like a party hotel, at least I think. Location wise, it's pretty central. I would go there again, but not with my son. For families, I think the Waldorf is a lot better. The downside is it is very expensive. And when you're traveling with a baby, sometimes it's just easier to do room service. We ended up spending quite a bit at the Waldorf and getting room service quite a bit because it was just convenient. And every time it was just so much. We like to get a car when we're traveling with my son, and that makes it a little bit easier for us, more flexible, so that we can drive to Walmart. We can drive to go get some food somewhere else. The hotel does bring you to the bottom of the hill with their little golf cart. So there are a couple places there, but to go further, it's just easier to drive. And they do have Uber, but I just like the flexibility of having a car.
Mitch, this is your cue. She said room service.
So let's double down on that room service, shall we, Christy? It sounds really, really, really good because I love room service. I don't think it's a splurge. I think it's a way of life. So what was the best room service dish that you had at the Waldorf?
I think it was some sort of taco dish, I'm sure. And the dessert that we got, I'm a big dessert person. They had really good dessert. Gosh, I wish I remembered exactly what I got. But you know what? I think I got tacos so often because it was also one of the more affordable options where you were getting something that was still good, but not $100 per plate. Like everything else is there.
Well, it's a good thing we have some Hilton credits on our cards.
Those came in handy.
So how many nights do you recommend spending there?
As many as you can afford. We were lucky and we were able to get 3 nights with our points, and that was great. 4 nights would have been better, but I would say 3 nights is good. If I could only find 2 nights, if I only had points or credits for 2 nights, I would do that also.
I love how you're a repeat guest and you still love it. I think that says a lot about a property.
I do. And I'm not big about doing the same trips and staying at the same places over and over again, unless it's for one night for a connection. But I love Cabo. I think it's just a fun place to visit. It's so easy for us to get there from Austin. It's only a 2-hour flight from us. So because of the convenience, because the food is good, it's fun. And of course, I love that property. We try and go to Cabo. I think we've gone the past 4 years to Cabo, but in the last 2, we were able to stay at the Waldorf. And after that, I will say it does kind of ruin you. In my opinion, I feel like we have to go back. We love it so much.
Have you done the JSX on that route? Well, actually, they don't fly from Austin. I think they fly from Dallas.
They fly from Dallas. I looked into it so that we could bring our dog because a lot of the Cabo properties are very dog friendly. It's very expensive because I have to get him his own seat. So it just didn't make sense. My dog was going to cost more than my child.
I see that you're a very diverse traveler. You've traveled with your husband, and then you were an expat, and then you were traveling with your dog. Didn't you rent like a private jet for him? Is that you?
Don't put me on blast. I did.
Oh, that's another topic. We'll come back to that. But then now you're traveling with your son. And so have you done solo travel as well?
I have. I've done a little bit of solo travel, especially in Poland. I wasn't working when we moved to Poland. I was unemployed for 14 months. So that was really fun. So I got to do some solo trips just during the week while my husband was working. And then we would travel on the weekends. And those were just a little bit easier because they're shorter. And the last time I did big, long solo travel was probably in college. Backpack through Australia for a month with one of my friends because we signed up for an American Airlines card. And I think their intro was like 70,000 points and it would pay for our flights. So we got to go for free. That was our first insight into credit card points when I was 18 and then just created a monster ever since then.
Talk about a monster. So tell us about this private jet for your dog.
So I'm like, should I pick up my dog?
Yes. Show us. Oh.
So this is Hody the hoarder.
Oh.
He's a
what do they call it?
I forget what they call his nose. They're kind of like pug-like. And so they don't breathe as well. This is just trying to make me feel better about spending so much money. Explain. So, when I moved my dog back from Europe to the US, there were not great options. The programs had gone away to be able to get dogs back and forth. And so I found other crazy people like myself on Facebook. I think the Facebook group is Private Charters for Dogs. And we...
Of course there is.
Yes, there's a Facebook group for everything. We got together and we chartered a private plane. Well, we all had different prices because of the size of the dogs and when people booked, but I paid $8,000 for my ticket / my dog to come. A once in a lifetime thing. We won't ever move back. And that's how we did it. So I made sure to sign up for a credit card so that at least it would help. I think that's when I signed up for an Amex Business Platinum card. So at least I could get something from it. So that was nice, but it was a lot of money. And we had sold our house. It was post-COVID. So that's how I justified it. An amazing experience. I can send photos so that you guys can see. If you have the means to ever do that, go for it. It is just the most amazing experience. But it was also very stressful trying to travel with the dog. And it was also in the COVID era where you needed a negative COVID test. So that was very stressful because we paid a lot of money for this private jet. And if we tested positive for COVID, we were screwed. There's no refund. Now, airlines have capitalized on that, and now they have Bark Air, but there's, I think, at least 2 airlines that now do this, which makes it a lot easier. You don't have to coordinate to find the people. They just book it back and forth. So we traveled from Warsaw, drove all the way to Frankfurt, and then from Frankfurt, we took the train to Paris, and then from Paris, we flew from there to Teterboro, New Jersey. And then from there, we drove all the way to Texas.
Wow, that's a long drive.
You were on the flight. It wasn't just your dog. You were on it too?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's fine. Yeah. I don't think I would pay 8,000 for. Yeah, but you were in a private jet. I think for me, that justifies it. If it was just a dog, I was like, I don't think I would do it.
You go
I'd
with
be
your
like,
dog.
you know what? My dog is now, if he's staying in Germany now or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't have a child back then. I honestly, doing it, would I do it again if it got set up? If it was, that much, I probably would, just because otherwise I have to get rid of him and I've had him for so long, you can't, I don't know.
Yeah.
The dog is your family.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very different experience from my standard trying to save as much money as I can to book on points.
Wait, so what do other people do when they have to bring their dog back home?
Well, you fly them cargo. A lot of people do that and they're fine. Their dogs are fine. My dog's not even crate trained. If I put him in a crate, he barks. And I didn't think it was going to work for us and for him to do that.
Yeah.
So, and other people have similar issues, or they're also just crazy like me. And there were plenty of us that wanted to do it. I actually made some friends that way. I have a really good friend was doing the opposite. She was moving from Texas to Paris. And so she coordinated the way there, because the way that you do it, it's the same price booking one way as round trip because the plane has to get back. So we booked it round trip, and with all of us, we were able to make it somewhat affordable.
Did they feed you well on this charter flight?
When you book a private plane, they charge you for everything. So they will feed you anything you want, but you're paying for it.
Ah, okay.
So it's very different. And because of that, we were like, we're fine. We'll bring a picnic. It's fine.
This is when you bust out the Tupperware.
Exactly. Private plane, but we are bringing our ramen noodles in a Tupperware because we all have no money from doing this. So we all had food. I think they have like some snacks, and then they had alcoholic beverages, but we didn't know. We brought our own. We were just like, okay, we'll have a bottle of champagne. We're leaving Paris. They charge you for everything. It's such a different experience. We were really nervous that it was going to snow. And of course, it never snows in Paris, and it snowed the day before. If they have to de-ice you, they charge you, and you don't know how much they're going to charge you because it depends on how much you need. You have to pay for everything. It's so different. Something you would never think about. And hopefully you never really have to do.
See, Miguel, me spending 150,000 Atmos rewards points on a 10-hour flight, it's not that bad, right?
Yes, it is. You can get it for half. Now, if you have your points, spend them however you want. Or in this case, if you have $8,000, spend them however you want.
No judgment.
That's an experience or a story not many people have. So I think that's pretty cool. If you were in it too, I would have been like, take pictures of me in every seat, pretend you guys hide, pretend this is just my private jet only.
We took a lot of pictures and videos. It was great. Even though we could have slept, we didn't sleep that whole flight.
I wouldn't have slept either.
Yeah, it was fun.
Like, sir, they're going to charge you for the linens if you sleep. No. Keep them in the closet.
I don't regret it at all.
I'm not going to regret spending 150,000 Atmos rewards points.
Christy, before we wrap up, any last minute tips on what gear is good for traveling with babies, what to pack, or what strategies you may have for actually flying with your infant, whether it's the feeding schedule, how to help with a jet lag with a kid? Any last minute tips?
Well, my first tip is never let your husband do the packing. Always do your own packing. As much help as they want to be, do your own. So that way you know where everything is. You bring enough things in your carry-on so you're not stuck with long footy pajamas in Cabo for 7 hours for your son. So number one tip, Just do your own packing. Number 2, don't bring as many things. I brought so many toys the first, second flight. When they're before one, they can be entertained by literally anything. You can get a lot of things where you are. I think the only thing that I would bring, especially if you're traveling to Mexico or somewhere where maybe the water isn't as safe, I would bring the sterilizer bags for bottles and things like that. You can buy those from Amazon, Target. They're available everywhere. So I would say to bring that. A lot of other things you can get, and maybe the camera so you can see the baby, especially if you're sleeping in a different room with them. And as far as the jet lag, it is very scary the first time having to go through it, but everyone says babies are resilient, and they really are. They figure it out, sometimes even better than us. I would just keep the same routine that you do at home as much as possible and try to stretch them a little bit. They will get there, and they will get back to normal when you get home too. So it's still worth it.
I have one tip, even though I don't have a baby anymore, but when you have a baby, a lot of airlines will let you check in a baby item for free, whether that's a stroller, a car seat, or things like that. Listen, if you're flying on Ryanair, Frontier, these airlines that would charge you to check stuff. I mean, actually, all the airlines check baggage now, even Southwest. What I would do is get a bag to put that car seat in, and then just throw in clothes in there. Like they don't check what's in there. So save money on the check bag fee and just throw your stuff into like a baby item bag. That's my tip.
I've done that many times.
Just hope you have good rampers when they are loading that and unloading that. And it doesn't fall off and all your clothes all over the tarmac. So yeah, zip it really well. Today, we've given you a lot of tips about traveling with an infant. Maybe you've got something better, or you have traveled with an infant. We want to know. Drop us a comment below and let us know what you suggest or what you think about the show Traveling with an Infant tonight. Christy, it's been wonderful having you with us here tonight. How can people find you?
You can find me at Two Traveling Engineers on Instagram and on TikTok. I would love to share stories as I'm traveling, or maybe a couple days later, so that you can see real life what's going on. I love to share the truth. I don't make it look better than it is, so sometimes you'll see some struggles.
Well, we will look for you on Instagram and TikTok. And that's it for now. I want to thank all of our hosts. It's Serena.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see you next week, Miguel.
I'll see you next week. Later.
And thank you for joining us tonight. Christy, please come back.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And I'm Mitch Shannon. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. Just snap the QR code right now on your screen for the latest and everything going on in the Points and Miles world. We have got another new show for you next week. We are headed to Panama with Allie from Allie Travel Points. Thank you for watching and listening.
Okay, that was really good.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for asking me.
So what did you think behind the scenes?
Yeah, you guys are on top of your stuff. I was really impressed. Thanks for being so organized.
Let's get to the points.com.